listening to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game by equipping you with the tools you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace.
Well, it's like when we audit the mod with Logic and give them the action items that they're going to use to lower their total cost of risk.
Tactical skills that will help you provide deliverable value to your clients and prospects.
Technology is not an expense, it's an investment. Look at what Think HR has done for our clients and even our team. It's an amazing product, and I'm so thankful we have that.
And action items that you can provide to take your prospects and clients to the next level.
Things are changing for us in 2021. Not all big business anymore. Now that we have CoverWallet on our team, it's amazing that we're going to be able to write small business profitably.
This is Power Producer Shop Talk. Production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game, and we are doing it again this week with the one, the only CEO, co-founder, producer extraordinaire, vessel owner and operator, Mr. Peter MacDonald. What's up, man?
I'm just looking forward to getting out my vessel this weekend. We're going to be putting the sails up and getting out there. So,
hey, my wife's been away. My wife has been away all weekend. I'm looking forward to my vessel getting a little used this week too.
Jesus Christ.
So someone's got to make sure that the brews are cold, right?
Yeah, my goodness.
I gotta go.
I can tell you, man, it's been a doozy at our house between shopping for Kyle's wife's handbags and her being gone all week and me dealing with my kids. Like, what a night.
The whole thing's
Peter,
absurd.
If you ever need like collections work done or anything along those lines, Kyle's wife, I've never seen a dog on a bone like her over this.
You know, the thing is, she thinks she's going to use it all the time. She's going to get it, use it on one vacation, and then never again. She's like,
what is this? You want to get 10 of the same?
No, she wants the Louis Vuitton bum bag.
It's like it goes like kind of across, and it's like a little.
It's a fanny pack, man.
It's a fanny pack. It's a fanny pack that goes like kind of over your shoulder, from what I remember that Annie had.
Chest. There's
whatever.
There's all kinds of ways they can wear it. I've heard every single one of them, and this all is spawned from the fact my wife wore it down in Key West.
That's true.
His
That is true. My wife told me that. She's like, everybody wants this bag now. I will say, David, to your credit, my wife was telling me today, she's like, everybody loves my freaking hat. They're all asking about it. She's wearing a Killing commercial hat out here in the Cape. So
that's awesome.
You know, props to you, man.
Cool. Which one's she wearing? The one with the palm trees on it?
You know, I don't know. Hers is blue and white. And then I told her, I was like, you can wear mine too. I think there's like some other colors there on it.
Yeah, we got some variety.
I love it. You got to love the variety.
Absolutely. So we were talking about gap analysis on the last episode. When we got off, we started thinking about what we wanted to walk through this time, and broker selection came up. So let's talk about broker selection.
Let's talk about it. How are you guys running broker selection today? You talk to your customers about that at all?
We educate every single one of our clients. Absolutely, we do. I mean, honestly, man, that's one of the biggest things you have to overcome if you're going to try and get an account on an AOR, right? Like, what's your process? Most people don't understand. Look, I've been on record probably hundreds of times at this point with as many places as I spoke over the summer. But these people don't, our prospects don't know how to buy insurance, right? Like they don't know. Like they know what they know, but at the end of the day, nobody has a college course. Nobody has a high school class that says how to procure business insurance for your company. It just doesn't exist, right? Mm-hmm. Our industry is who taught people how to buy insurance. So when we get pissed off because people black out exposure data, or they won't give you deck pages, or they're going to go to 15 different agents to get quotes or whatever else, don't get mad at them. Get mad at our industry, because we're the ones that have conditioned them to do that. And the only reason they're continuing to do it is because nobody has come along and effectively explained why broker selection is the best method for doing this.
I'm just thinking, I had a prospect. They whited out the exposure data, and I remember
it's the best.
I sat down and
I have a current client that whited out the exposure data.
He did. It's our client, and they whited it out for us on the renewal. It's like, what are you?
I'm
doing,
like,
man?
bro, you know that I know your information, right? Like, and that I need this when I go back to the carrier to try to get your renewal. Like, you understand that it's like information that I'm going to ask you for, right?
I just remember the prospect. His insurance was in a really bad spot, and he was in the excess and surplus market because his business, whatever. And I remember I was kind of sitting there, I was laughing. I was like, "Hey, man, like, you can choose how you want to do business and who you want to partner with. When you partner with me, like, you're partnering with an expert who knows what he's talking about. Like, I can quickly calculate what this stuff is, looking at the policy, and like I went and did that, so he knew that I knew what I was talking about. And I was like, listen, if you want to work together, like, don't make my job harder. Just, you know, and that's kind of along the same lines as broker selection. And I think part of it is that's just important to talk through is where else is it that we're only allowed to like talk to one competitive company to do business together to get the best pricing, right? It's just such a weird
or what other transaction are you going to run into in your life where you're going to have where you're not able to control and leverage all of the different, you know, quotes against each other and working the underwriters the right way. It's like I ask people, you know, and I'm a little bit of a smart aleck sometimes. I know that's probably difficult for you to comprehend.
I can't believe it.
But I'll go in and just say, I apologize, man. I thought you were an HVAC contractor, not a risk manager. Like, what are you doing? What do you really know about this process? You know, I don't go out and fix my own HVAC.
That's a little flippant way. I don't know if I'd say it like that, but that's a pretty. I mean, it's interesting.
It might not work on the Cape, but it works in Tampa, Florida.
On or off Cape.
Yeah. No, seriously. I mean, the whole point is I'm not going to go fix my air conditioning if it breaks. Why are you trying to do this? Like, this is the most important. It comes down to control, man. It honestly does. If you think about it, most of the people that we're meeting with are high energy. They're in executive positions in their companies, and
Agreed.
they just want to control the process. And sometimes they're willing to listen to what you have to say and move away from what they've done. Sometimes they're not. If they want to work with Florida Risk Partners, it's broker selection only. We're not going to bid. We're not going to do RFP or any of that stuff.
Yeah, so let's break this down for your listeners who have no idea what we're talking about, right? Because this is a little bit confusing. This is like, let's suppose you're going to buy some new AirPods, some headphones, and you go on Amazon and you look at the price. And then you go to Target to get a price for the AirPods, and Target's like, I'm sorry, David, I can't give you a price for the AirPods because you are already working with Amazon. And you're like, what are you talking about? I was just looking at the cost at Amazon. I didn't agree to anything. And they're like, I know, but unfortunately, we can't give you a price for the AirPods unless you send us this letter that assigns us as your retailer of choice. And that's what we have to communicate to our prospects and customers. And I think if we give it a fair look, you know, and to your earlier point, like, we have to blame ourselves. It doesn't make a lot of sense in a lot of cases. And so it's a weird topic. It's one that people get so confused at. And when you try and explain it to them, they almost get angry at you as the bearer of the news. And so it's just something you have to think through. Like, how are we going to communicate this to my prospects and customers? What's your take on that?
Kyle, you're nodding. What's your take?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. I agree with you. Like, sometimes they look at you like it's your fault because you're explaining how it works to them, you know? And it's like, you know, how do you do that without getting them to feel that way? I mean, I think that's the challenge of it sometimes. But that's why one of the questions that I ask a lot, I've been noticing this a lot with some of the trucking leads that have been coming in, is they will be shopping everywhere and they will have already had several quotes come in. So in an effort to not waste my time, I want to find that out on the front end, but I just explain how that works to them. Like, look, you know, because you've already been shopping elsewhere, I'm going to be blocked. I'm not going to be able to leverage anything for you. Go ahead.
I take it a step further because I think that the problem is that the average prospect out there, or client for that matter, doesn't understand their online their reputation in the insurance marketplace. They think that they're
Right.
doing something that's going to advance their opportunity by going to 15 carriers. And the way I explain it, I really do say what I said. I mean, Kyle's probably been in a meeting with me before.
Yeah, and obviously you don't say that
and
to
I'm
everybody,
laughing.
but there are, of course.
Yeah, I'm laughing.
You're softening
when
it
I
up
say
a little bit, and there are certain,
Yeah.
there's certain situations where you know that the person's going to be a little bit more receptive, and based on the conversation that you've had, that they understand that you're not being,
I'm not
serious
meeting
with
with
them.
the snapperhead that decided it was wise to comment on my LinkedIn post of Ethan wearing a backpack blower as to why we don't teach him to wear hearing protection. Like, what is you freaking moron? I make a
Dude,
comment.
shut up,
Yeah, I
nerd.
posted on my LinkedIn about my special needs son being so motivated to help us in the yard that he goes in and puts the blower on, and the guy comes out and he says, why don't you teach, somebody should spend time teaching him about personal protective equipment. And he was not kidding, by the way. Like, I expected to get that from somebody that's like my friend that was just busting my balls.
Right.
But this guy didn't do that. So I wrote back and I said, actually, as his parents, we spend the majority of our time talking to him about not engaging in conversations where they bring no value. And I said, furthermore, this is an electric blower and doesn't emit enough noise to warrant hearing protection. And then he made a comment about me because I'm toting the edger in the background and I don't have my glasses on. I wasn't even edging. I was done. I took my glasses off, put them in my
is this
pocket.
guy?
Yeah. I said, and by the way, I took my eye protection off, put it in my pocket because I was done edging and taking my edger into the garage.
Johnny Safety Patrol.
Life isn't always as it seems there, Mr. Hall Pass Monitor. You know
No
what I mean?
kidding.
Come on, guy. Really? That's what your life is based on? Is trolling my LinkedIn about my special needs son's hearing protection? Oh, and I also said, by the way, if you have tips for how to get a special needs child with sensory issues to put anything over or in their ears, I'm wide open for your suggestions.
God.
So anyhow, enough about that.
I hate
What
the
I was gonna-
internet
But
so
what I was going to
much.
say is, people don't understand their reputation in the marketplace. And I tell them, if you go out and you use multiple brokers and you go to 15 different carriers every year, 14 of them lose. And at some point,
Right.
they're tired of losing. And so I can't even tell you,
Yeah.
Peter, the number of times in my career where I've gotten somebody to understand that, and now I have to go and do damage control to open those markets back up. And the only reason I'm able to do it is because it's a different agency and they understand how we got the deal. And I have to spend the time explaining that to the underwriters to even get them to consider it.
So here's the challenge, right? People listening to this right now, they're like, oh yeah, we got to do broker selection. And I heard Kyle talking about it. He said, I'm going to be blocked. They heard David talking about it. He's kind of saying, you're doing it wrong, right? And so if your message from a sales perspective to your prospect or customer is, I'm going to be blocked, you're doing it wrong. They're like, wait. You're telling me that I've been buying insurance my whole freaking life, and all of a sudden you come around, you're trying to win the business, and you're telling me that that you're going to be blocked, and I'm doing it wrong. Screw you, man. I know what I'm doing. I'm not, And so I think that, at least from my perspective and my experience, the way that I would explain it to people is, I would ask them, David, Kyle, what's your strategy to make sure you're getting the best price from the market? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I just, go out to three different brokers, and this is what, we just get the pricing, and we see how the bids come back. And I'm like, all right, is it okay if I explain to you how this works in reality, right? And so now you're framing it around, it's not about me being blocked. It's not about them doing it the wrong way. It's more like, how are you strategizing about every part of your business, including soliciting bids from insurance companies? We have this weird way of getting pricing in insurance. There's no other industry that I'm aware of that works like it. Let's walk through it together. And that's typically how I lead into a conversation with somebody. And what I would explain is like, listen, here's a pretty typical situation. You're working with an existing agent. They're working on the renewal with the existing carrier. They're kind of locked in with that carrier. Now you start talking to 2-3 other brokers. One of those brokers inevitably is going to get an insurance application in the door as soon as they finish talking to you and hang up the phone, maybe even before. I've seen this before where agents will literally send in an accord form just with someone's name. And what happens is, out of respect to your data as the customer, that insurance company will only work with that one broker because they got in first. And listen, getting in first sometimes, hey, that person's doing their job, good for them. But how do you know the story they're conveying about your business to this insurance carrier? That's going to become really important because, again, they're the only ones that's going to work with them, right? And so it becomes a mess where maybe your existing broker, they're reaching out to the existing renewal broker. The broker who got in fastest, he reaches out to everybody, and then other brokers start reaching out, and all of a sudden the insurance underwriters, in some cases, they're just going to refuse to quote. They're going to say, this is a mess. They're going to say, clearly no one has this account. There's not a strategy to this. They're only working with one of the brokers. They're going to get a quote, but even when they get the quote back, it's not based on accurate information because different agents don't do the same level of work. So whether they're quoting it off of last year's payroll or 5 years ago's revenue because no one's updating it, and so now you're unable to have an accurate comparison. Now listen, I'm already struggling. I'm sitting here thinking because if I'm the prospect at this point, I'm like, dude, I'm confused, And this is why I had a visual, which is probably worthwhile. We had a really good visual we'd share with our clients to help explain the concept around, why is someone blocking the market? Why are you not getting quotes? Why would an underwriter not give a quote?
I just take a burlap sack with 10 cats in it and let them loose on the conference room table and tell them that's what their marketing efforts look like for renewal.
Yeah,
seriously,
strategy.
Man, that's the whole thing. I don't think people.
Yeah.
And there's no other product. And I hate to reduce what we do to a product, but let's just do it for easy terms. There's no other product out there where you're going to go out and have 15 people compete. I mean, when you go buy a new car, man, even though it's a little easier now to do your research on. This might not be a good idea because the last 2 cars I bought online sight unseen. So, but what I would say is, there's nothing else out there where you're going to have that many people consciously fighting for your business, but not just your business, your time, your resources. You now are a quarterback of a process you really didn't want to put on your desk, and you get a bad taste in your mouth, and that's why these people don't want to meet with us. I shouldn't say that's the only reason, but that's one of them. If there is not a well-defined process for how they're going to procure their insurance and risk management needs, then it's going to be a headache, man. It's not like it's just normal business. You have a bunch of aggressive people who are fighting to win your trust in your business, and now you have to manage them. And you don't have the ability to leverage the underwriters against each other because everybody's operating blind.
I think if you're explaining it to anybody who's ever bought like a lead online, or at least can understand the concept of a lead, back to your point about like buying a car online, is if you're getting a lead that 5 other people got versus you're getting a lead that only you got from one person, like who are you going to give your attention to? And that's kind of the battle the underwriters have, where if you're an underwriter, if you have 20 submissions on your desk, 20 applications for insurance, and you have 4 applications for insurance from 4 different brokerages for the same account, versus you have an account you hadn't seen in 3 years and you only got it from one broker who does a good job, like who are you going to prioritize? Who are you going to give your time to? And that's kind of what you got to communicate to your clients in a way where you're like, people are actually competitive for your business, but there needs to be a strategy behind how you're approaching the marketplace. And so what happens is if you just shotgun the market, talk to 10, or 3 to 4 different brokers, they're all going to hit up the same markets. They're all going to hit Travelers, Hartford, whoever their carriers are. And what's going to happen is, Hartford's going to decline to quote. Travelers is only going to quote to whoever came in first. They're not necessarily looking at whoever has the most accurate information, who's doing the most focus on a risk management. And it ends up limiting the amount of options that you get. Whereas if you think about creating a strategy, we say, well, why don't we work with one broker? He or she can assign the markets that we're going to use with that broker. And then if you're coming in, you can say, listen, we'll work with other markets, at least have that clearly delineated. Now, of course, it's great if you can get a broker record and you can just have all the markets assigned to you. I think there's a reality where some cases you might not be able to do that. There might be markets that, you don't have the ability to quote. And so you kind of have to, recognize that as well. I know when we sold insurance, there were certain insurers we just didn't work with.
Or you've got people that are working with a direct writer right now, right? That's why I think that when you're dealing with the broker selection, that's fine if you don't represent. And there's several of them out there. I still get a signed letter of engagement so that I can displace them. I want the whole reason I do that is I want the psychological action of somebody having to physically sign a document saying we are hiring you for our insurance needs. Period. I can't tender an agent of record letter with a captive carrier, but what I can do is have a letter of engagement that formalizes that this person is going to hire my firm to handle this stuff for them, and they sign that, and it's worthless on the streets, but at the end of the day, it's just one more thing. It's just one more application of glue to keep the deal on the tracks.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm sitting here listening to this and this conversation, thinking about it. It's such a weird thing to communicate to people, but it's such an important piece to have, something where you rehearsed it and it comes across smoothly, in 60 to 90 seconds, where you can paint the picture in the prospect's mind. Hey, rather than shotgunning the market with 3 different brokerages who are all going to hit the same insurance carriers, who are going to get confused, they're going to quote inaccurate information, and they're not going to be excited and competitive, it's better to work exclusively with 1, maybe 2 brokers. Make sure you're on top of which markets they're going out to, and you're on top of the story that they're communicating to these insurance underwriters, so that they're putting you in the best possible light and making you look attractive to the insurance marketplace, which is going to strategically be the way that's going to get you the most amount of responses, the most competitive pricing, and then also put your broker in a spot, to your guys' point earlier, to leverage offers against himself. Go to Insurer 1 and Insurer 2 and say, hey, look, I really like you guys. You were straight out the gate with great pricing, but look, Insurer 2 is coming back with some really cool pricing, and they're doing some great throw-ins and add-backs for us. What can you do to sharpen your pencil? That's going to put the broker in the strongest position to do the best representation for the clients and prospects you're working with.
There you go, people.
Nice.
That's a good pause and a good place to stop, I think, for right now. So we are going to come back with episode 3 next week. I'm not even going to tell you what it's about, but before we leave, I want Peter to talk about the deal Wunderite's running for Power Producer Podcast listeners.
So we were down in Key West just a few weeks ago, had a great time with everybody there. Dylan and I came back and we were thinking, you know what? We love working with everybody in the Killing Commercial crew. We love the way you're all thinking about winning deals. We're like, why don't we put together a streamlined, standardized deal to get you started with Wunderite out of the gate, make it easy. We're going to give you our lowest pricing. This is the first time we've ever done any kind of pricing discount to an organization, to Killing Commercial members and podcast listeners. Just hit us up, Wunderite.com, 888-WUNDERITE. You can call us. We will give you the Killing Commercial 1-1 ramp-up special. Just mention this deal, and we'd be excited to get you started.
There you have it.
That's it. Nothing else to say, people. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you next week. See ya.
You've been listening to Power Producers Shop Talk. You can follow us at the Power Producers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our commercial insurance training course at killingcommercial.com or visit Amazon to pick up a copy of our international best-selling book, The Extra 2 Minutes.